Yeah.
All right. So,
Oh, yeah, it says that we are live.
are you
Ladies.
broadcasting only to YouTube right now, or are you broadcasting also to Facebook?
YouTube, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I was to go on YouTube, good morning, everybody. If you can see this, we just having a little fun. We're gonna call it Fun Channel.
A fun test run.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Says we're live. Okay.
Okay. Yep. There it is. I'm just gonna give it a share.
A fun test run. Yeah. Oh, yep. Says we're live. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
At least one person's watching.
That could have been me.
Okay.
But I'm just about to share it and see if we can get.
You're for some reason, Mike, and I don't know if you're noticing this with me, but I hear you before how's this? You say something and then you mouth it. So
okay.
the audio.
Whoa.
But that could be my computer. I don't know. But I mean, I can hear you. When you see me, am I talking in what looks to be real time?
Yeah, you're fine. You're synced up perfectly.
Okay. You're just a little bit behind. It's not.
Well,
it's not bad. And maybe watching on YouTube, people won't. It doesn't matter.
But good morning.
We'll take a drink of coffee at the same time.
Right.
So hey everybody, Mike and I just decided to, and for good reason, we're going to be doing an actual episode in a couple weeks' time, and I've never done this before with a guest. I've only done one live broadcast before. I had to make sure it worked, and we had a little bit of technical possibilities, but we worked through them. When I say we, I mean I, not realizing that I had speaker settings wrong, but here we are. So good morning, and if anybody wants to comment along, free advertising, we should be getting some Tim's cards sent our way for this. I just think that's a good idea. I should throw that out there.
There's all kinds of fun things you can do like this, and you can upload videos and play like an intro video when you go live.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, you know something? I thought of, I've got something I might be able to use for that. And remind me later. I'll send it to you. It's an audio clip of me trying to fumble my way through something. And yeah. So first of all, I guess what we're our quote unquote purpose behind this is we wanted to talk about responses to our episode yesterday, which were a lot. Did very, very well. This comment comes from Chris Fodor on my Tim's Vinyl Confessions Facebook page, and this is specifically referencing Mike's CDs of the first two Quiet Riot albums.
I'll go get them.
So, this is a really cool episode. I have a number of these rare CDs, and I had no idea they were rare, i.e. Fraley's Comet Bad Company. In regards to the Quiet Riot discs, the CBS/Sony Japan catalog numbers for the vinyl releases in 77 and 78 were 25AP-880 and 25AP-1192 respectively. So they're actually honoring the catalog numbers there.
Wow.
They were also released on a UK label called Red Novelty Records with the numbers QR001 and QR002 in 2003. From what I can gather, this quote-unquote label deals mainly with bootlegs and unofficial releases. Not sure how much this helps, but hopefully some. Definitely helps, Chris. I mean, it's researching rare stuff like this, it's a process, and sometimes it's just a matter of gathering information. It's like, who out there knows about this stuff? It's like that Queen CD I held up with half of the lyric booklet from the wrong album. If I was to hear someone else that had that, I would be like, okay, so that makes sense. So I want to get to some of the comments from yesterday's episode. RJCJ Rock says the rare CD in my collection is an original 1989 earache pressing of Bolt Thrower Realm of Chaos. Bug, Andy Campbell, friend of the show. He's been on for the Rat E was originally released on Rat's own label, Time Coast. It's not on Spotify either. Somebody's got to fix that. Like, I don't know if that means, I don't know if Time Coast was Marshall Burrell's little imprint or something.
Maybe.
I think it's safe to say that all anyone's ever seen on that label is the Rat EP. But man, it really needs, at the very least, it needs a digital reissue. But man, it would be nice to
Yeah,
have a
please.
nice CD issue. That'd make a good record store day release, Stephen Piercy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just saying. Maybe package that with a vintage Rat show from around the same time. You know, maybe something back to your days with Jakey Lee on guitar. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Demos. Yeah, they've
Marco
got
and the
stuff.
Contrarians. Nice job, Tim and Mike. Can't wait to get unspooled. He should have that. Yeah, I've talked to Marco about that. We'll talk about Unspooled here in a little bit. Dan Durbert says, loved this episode, but I thought CDs were drink coasters. And Will D says, Mike, look at the matrix numbers on the QR.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's the responses to our episode yesterday, which I'm really surprised. It was a long episode, and we get a lot of people watching it. So it's really nice to know that there's other folks out there that are into this kind of stuff. It's why we do it, right?
Yeah. I think in this day and age, vinyl is probably more of a crowd getter. But you and I, we understand the value of a CD. And, we appreciate these things. And it was a lot of fun for me showing them off. And I'm really glad that we got some answers on that Quiet Riot, too.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know about some of those ones that I showed, like I said, the Queen one, the Twisted Sister Under the Blade CD. Like, there are just things that, there's holy grails, there's things you look for, but then there's things that you wouldn't even think to look for. And that Twisted Sister CD wouldn't even be something that I would think to look for. And I should
No.
say, not only did I find it, my buddy John was with me, and there were 2 copies. We each found one of all the weird, random things that these 2 CDs just popped up in this. It was just a record store that sold old stuff and new stuff, and they someone there must have had a line on some imports. But I remember the very first time I went in there, I found and to this day it's the only time I've seen one in the wild. It was a CD I already had. It was Y&T 10, but it was a promo CD with actually I should have brought it out with an actual it had a different cover, and it was just a single sleeve cover on it, and it was just the idea of finding something different, right, that most people don't have. So yeah, it's nice when somebody can respond and you know um maybe shed a little light on something, or at least say, yes, I have that one too. What's up with that? so
Yeah.
um so yeah, we could probably do another episode like that. I'm sure
Easily.
if I look through my CDs, we could you know we could do something like that. Just bear with me here, Mike. I'm gonna share on my socials too. Can you still see me?
I can still see you. For some reason, my
Okay.
Facebook is all jammed and I
All right.
can't
This
seem
is
to
all
share.
oh weird. Yeah, Facebook gets like Facebook gets, right?
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Yeah, it seems to be sluggish this morning, and I'm not sure why. Maybe you putting all the juice into this stream right here.
Could be. Yeah, it does take a lot of juice.
But this might get some folks started. I'm not sure if anybody out there this morning.
Well, according to your
And if anybody out
stream
there
here,
has
you've got 3 people
what?
watching right now. Apparently,
Oh,
you see that in the top
okay.
left.
Oh, there. Oh, yes, there it is. Okay. All right, just a minute. Boy, yeah, it does. This does use a lot of juice, doesn't it?
I think so.
Very,
Yeah.
very slow. That is not what I wanted. Hold. And then you press the wrong thing, and you've got to wait for it to. You got to wait for it to do the wrong thing to come up. So you can close that. So then and that's not what I wanted either. Thank you. So I wonder what this would look like. Yeah, this is just a throwaway. I don't want to say a throwaway one. This is fun. There's no question this is fun. Uh, but yeah, this is working the bugs out till we do. Guess it'll be let's see, 2 weeks from yesterday.
Right. Talking about a little
Hang on, I'm
band
going
out
to
of
share this.
San Francisco.
City by the Bay, yay. Which one thing we were hoping we could talk about still hasn't happened. And I'm at a
yeah, I don't know if
loss
we want to
to
get
know
into
why.
it now, but what is going on with that band? Like,
I don't know.
I guess we can talk
They're
about that in a
announcing.
couple of weeks.
Yeah. And that's and which is exactly why we didn't want to be fumbling through broadcast as we are doing it that way. But I'm hoping to get some more people here listening. Well, we got one like on this. That's good.
That's decent, sure. Hello. Good morning.
If it's not you,
Happy Sunday.
and if it's not you or what's that, Mike?
I said, good morning, happy Sunday.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I just thought of something. Every once in a while, I'll have an attack of brilliance. What if I shared that? What if I try and share that on my phone? Because because my laptop is not cooperating. Put it back on here.
I'm struggling as well.
Yeah, hold on here. This should be able to do this on my phone. All professional here. Let's see. There. Boy, that'll get him running. No. Come on. You need to wait for the thing to. There we go. Yeah. Cool. So, okay, I know something that we can talk about.
Okay.
I already posted on my all my socials this morning. I try to do a daily post, and if I can, I link it around a birthday. Today would have been Loverboy bassist Scott Smith's birthday, and what a tragic story with him. Actually, apparently he was good friends with Phil Collin from Def Leppard, because Phil talks about Scott a lot in his autobiography, Adrenalized.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, my boss was just asking me, you ever heard of a Canadian band called Loverboy? I was like, are you kidding? Of course I know Loverboy. Mike Reno's a great singer. Paul Dean. He couldn't believe that I knew them.
Of all the Canadian bands for someone to have just heard of.
I know. And he's like, how about another one called Honeymoon Suite? And I said, oh yeah, the Niagara Falls. I've seen them live.
Well, so HMS, I'm a huge HMS fan. I can understand someone, well, especially from south of the border, asking about them. But Loverboy were huge.
Yeah, they were.
But it's funny funny how you mentioned that, and I know you'll have this same the same sort of reaction. Growing up in Canada, especially when I grew up on the border, listening to American radio and Canadian radio, and watching much music very, very faithfully, I just sort of intrinsically knew that there were some artists that were basically strictly Canadian.
Yes.
Like Platinum Blonde and Gowan and folks like that. For some reason, just it's hard. It's when you think about the Canadian artists that did make it, there aren't too many of them. I mean, Bryan Adams and Rush. But Loverboy, I remember when I first started really paying attention to Top 40 Radio and who sang what. I remember actually being surprised to find out that Loverboy were Canadian. I thought they were American because American radio played them all the time. And I remember I don't know why it matters, but for some reason I thought that is so cool. They're Canadian.
I was aware of a similar barrier, but I wasn't close to the border. I was just more observing what I noticed in American rock magazines. So, Kim Mitchell would
Yeah.
come out with a brand new album, but you'd never read a damn thing about it in the American rock magazines. And if Helix came out with a new album, you'd read a little tiny blurb about it in Hit Parader, and then you'd never see anything again. So I was definitely aware of that divide. And, a band like Helix could do a headlining theater tour in Canada, and in the United States, you won't hear peep. So, yeah, I had a similar feeling growing up. Oh, and you
Good
have
morning,
somebody
Dan.
watching.
Cassette Mayhem Dan. Good morning, gents. Good morning, Dan. Dan, you are on the list for a book. When I have more to talk about with that, you're definitely on the list. There's a growing list of people that would like to order a book. Chaz, how you doing? Thunderstrucks. Wow, watch the whole video. That's blowing my mind, man. I don't even know if I can watch it.
Now, just so you know, Tim, all you got to do is click the comment like that, and it goes up on the screen.
Oh, that's how you do that. All right.
Yeah, you just click the comment, and it goes up on the screen.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah, learning all the tricks of the trade here, folks. Mike's an old pro at doing this. He can manipulate putting videos on here, bringing more people in, and putting in. Here's a quick graphic, and I'm gonna talk into the microphone.
You'll get used to it. It's very, very easy once you've got a handle on the controls.
One of the things that I'm not getting used to is the fact that when I turn like this, my head goes the other way that I would think it would.
Oh, right. Yeah, like I'm always doing this where I'm pointing to somebody, but I have to remember to point the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Tim, how are you doing? I got to remember I'm not pointing towards what I think I'm pointing towards.
So yeah, for me to do this, who am I pointing at now? Am I pointing at you?
You're pointing away from me.
I'm pointing away from you. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember in the 70s, you'd see the advertised for those shirts that say "I'm with stupid."
Right.
Don't want to do that. Pardon me. I'm just refilling it. Yeah, this guy refilling my coffee here. Went through all my CDs to see. Hold on, click on that. Hold on.
Sorry.
I went all my CDs to see if I had any of the ones you mentioned. Yeah, one thing I didn't do is actually compare these with Discogs and what the asking price would be for some of them, because I bet you some of them wouldn't be very high just because there's no demand.
Right.
I just think there are some CDs that there are some that are rare when you get them, but then there's some you just see them, you buy them, and then later on you realize, everybody I'm talking to is going crazy trying to find this CD. How do I up with it? It's just luck, right?
Yeah. If we ever do it again, I could do just entirely Japanese imports, and I've got some really crazy ones, like the original Japanese Motley Crue Generation Swine, which had a bonus track on it, but at the time I didn't realize it wasn't a Motley Crue bonus track. It was a preview of what was that side project he had?
Methods of Mayhem.
No, Nikki Sixx had one. And it was before 6 a.m. and it was called 49 or 54.
Yeah.
So there was a 54 bonus track on Generation Swine, and I spent like $60 tracking this thing down only to get a track that I didn't want or like.
Wasn't it was it 58?
58? Yeah, maybe it was 58.
Because Nikki was born in 1958.
That was it then. That was it. Either way, I didn't care for the side project.
Yeah. I had something. I just thought of something. And what was it? Don't know. If it was important, it'll come back. But
here's another one for you. Unfortunately, I don't have the CD anymore, but I did buy at, I think it was a Sunrise Records store back in 95, a Japanese import version of Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, which came with a 4 bonus tracks, I guess from a Japanese EP called Priest in the East. But what's funny about this story is the Japanese would translate the lyrics themselves and get them all wrong. So the opening number is this track called, as you know, it's called Delivering the Goods. And the opening line of the track is "Feeling like we're ready to kick tonight." Well, the Japanese lyric book translated into English said, "Feeling rock queers ready to kick tonight."
I have similar story there. Before I get to that, that just made me think of what I was going to talk about. Say Ches says, I
Oh
don't was
yeah,
actually listening to some of my 20th Century Millennium CDs, those greatest
those
hits,
are
they
good.
were everywhere back in the day. Um, it's that's funny when I used to do a 6-hour radio show on Saturday nights. It was called the Solid Gold or Saturday Night Solid Gold Show. I would go and get a bunch of those Millennium CDs from Walmart
They're good.
and give them away as prizes. I gave away a lot of those, and yeah, you don't even see those ones anymore. Now, a lot what you see is the icon ones, I think, which have kind of
Yeah.
taken the place uh, of those universal ones. Which whatever for someone just getting into a band, they're generally good uh, mix of songs by whoever it is. But yeah, Japanese import CD. So this is a fun story, Mike. I think you can relate to this. So people are going to roll their eyes. They can roll their eyes. You've heard me talk about Y&T a million times, and I don't care. They're one of my favorite bands. And I got into them in 1990, and that's also around the same time I started buying CDs. And I had a hard time uh, filling out the collection. Most of the albums were deleted, so it was luck of the draw. So at this point in summer of 1991, by summer of 1991, I had all of their albums on cassette from Black Tiger onward. Not that those were easy to find, those A&M albums, but I did find them. But I didn't have the first two, the Yesterday and Today albums, and I didn't have Earthshaker. So I was looking at a circus magazine. I specifically remember this. I was at the grocery store. I was helping my mother get groceries, and I would always go. I'd usually get a Circus or Hit Parade or Metal Edge if there was a new one, right? And there was a new Circus. It would have been a summer 1991 issue. I don't know who would have been on the cover, but there was an order form towards the back, and it was from a place in Connecticut called The Right Choice, and they sold import CDs, and they had
Yeah.
Y&T Earthshaker, and I had never ordered from one of these types of places before, but I said, I got to try it. If that's the only way I'm ever going to hear this album, I got to try it. I would at that point I would have been perfectly happy finding the cassette. It was honestly it wasn't until 2006 until I found that album on cassette just to complete the formats. So I ordered it, and after about 2 months, I was convinced that I'd been ripped off. Um, and actually sent them you know, kind of a letter. Where's my CD? Blah blah blah. Of course, what happens? The CD comes. So it came to about $50 because at the time the exchange rate wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was like, I don't know, 81 cents on the dollar. In the early 90s, actually, the Canadian dollar had some strength in it. And but I remember getting it and opening it. It was the first time I saw an Obi strip. It was like a red A&M. It was you've probably seen them. It's called the Forever Young series. You've
Mm.
probably got
Yeah.
CDs that have that on it. And I was so excited. And I looked at the side of it. It had Japanese characters on it, but I looked on the other side and it was in English. And I had it, and I played the crap out of that. That may have been the first CD I ever bought that I didn't have on cassette first. But I remember looking at the lyrics, and the lyrics were not correct. And I want to be careful here. We're not being rude or anything. It's just interesting how it's no different than Google Translate. Google Translate is hilarious if you type
Exactly the
things in,
same.
and you know. But in this, there's a song on Earthshaker called "Shake It Loose," and there's a lyric that just goes, "We're having fun tonight." The lyric sheet said, "Will you be bombed tonight?" Just gonna leave that right there.
Well, I guess some people could answer
But
yes to both.
well, yeah, true. And there's another example when I got the CD to Down for the Count, also Y&T, and There's a song in there called "Don't Tell Me What to Wear." Um, oh, Ches just said,
Wow.
"Mike, we still have a Doctor Disc here in Windsor." That's a
Wow.
I'd never heard of that franchise till yesterday. So
Wow.
in the lyric to this song, it says, "Don't tell me how to look, think, or act." That's the lyric. The lyric sheet says, "Don't tell me how to look, dig your ass."
They did their
So,
best with what they
but
had.
listen, if it wasn't for getting Japanese imports, uh, it was years before Y&T were able to get the rights to reissue those albums, Earthshaker, Black Tiger, Mean Streak, and Rock We Trust. And, so I had them in the early '90s, so, God bless them. And that Mr. Big, Raw Like Sushi that I got, that I still love that 6-song live EP from the first tour. That is so awesome. That's the first time I heard Paul Gilbert dig the drill out before it ended up on an album, because he did a guitar solo, and all of a sudden,
You know,
my music corner. I just
I'm a
finished
little
watching
jealous
the
of I'm a little
hold on.
jealous of you because I always wanted to order titles from those magazine ads. And there would always be several in there that I'm like, what is that? And a lot of them were singles and EPs. It'd be like Skid Row 18 in Life EP featuring, Midnight Tornado Live or whatever, right? I'm like, I'm never going to find that here in Kitchener. I'm never going to find it. So do I get my mom to make out a US money order for $80 or whatever for ordering a few singles? And I never did it, but I think you might be the only person I know who did.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we kind of had I kind of had an advantage. Not only did we live on the border, but my mom's older sister, my aunt, married a guy from in Maine. So we visited them on a fairly regular basis. So I'd always get my stuff sent there. I did that for years. Um, Actually, you know what? Now that I rewind and think about that, the Earthshaker CD was not. It was the first time I ordered from this particular company, but the very first mail order thing that I knew of doing. I talked about my friend John before. We again, there'd be different places that would have these import things, but probably the place we ordered from the most was called Metal Disc, and I think they were out of California. And what he ordered something, and it was a fairly cheap item. We figured if we were going to get ripped off, he might be out $20. And what he ordered was the Metallica One cassette single, had the Prince on it. Yeah, I think it was the Prince. Um, whoa, hold up. Chaz says
What?
Amazon is advertising a vinyl release of Kansas Somewhere to Elsewhere. Holy crap. Wow. Um, wow. I had a US mailbox and okay, first of all, Ches, thanks. I'm trying to save money here.
47
But,
bucks. I just found it's
yeah,
47 bucks for red vinyl.
that's actually not bad. Thank you, Ches, for
CD,
that
on the
because I
other
love that.
hand, they're asking 171 bucks for the CD.
Yeah, see, that was a limited release on Magna Carta Records. I don't think it was ever, reissued. Cassette Mayhem Dan, I had a US mailbox in Holton, Maine, so did I. That's exactly where I'm talking about, that's where my aunt used to live, is in Holton, Maine, just across the Woodstock border. Um, Dan, where are you in Fredericton? You're listening, Dan? And I was doing that too. I would get in recent years, I'd get a mailbox in Holton, but that's pre-pandemic. It's such a hassle, after that. Yeah,
What
Dan
we
must live
would
close
do
to where I live.
is we would take, and this is later on, this is my early 20s, but we would take annual spring trips to Frankenmuth, Michigan. And we would stop at the border and we would go shopping at a mall, and I would pick up tapes that I couldn't find in Canada. So one summer, or one spring, I should say, I went down there and I bought
Oh,
everything Savatage that I couldn't find in Canada. Remember Savatage, Hall of the Mountain King? So I found their first
oh, yeah.
two.
Oh, Mountain Gang, yeah.
Sirens and The Dungeons Are Calling. Found those two on cassette, and then I found The Power of the Night on cassette. And I'd never seen them in Canada, and so that was a real find for me. I found Richie Kotzen's third album called Electric Joy, and Quiet Riot's Terrified on CD. All of this stuff I couldn't find in Canada, so we would do really well going to Frankenmuth and stopping in these malls at the border.
Mike, that again, I'm pretty sure that we were I'm not really, because it is the same thing. It is the exact same thing. Um because yeah, especially I find that there's some American bands that you could only find so many of their albums, even if they were fairly
Yeah,
well known bands.
yeah.
Yeah, hold on a second here. Ches, that's what I'm ordering right now.
No, you're not, are you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
You have to understand, I am an enormous fan of Kansas.
You want to see what I just got yesterday?
It's why I call myself Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
Here's some vinyl for you. I just
That's
got this yesterday.
awesome. Thank you, Chess, for letting me watch that. Okay. Okay, cassette. Yeah, Dan is in Fredericton. That's what I thought. Yeah. So about half an hour away. Yeah, I don't call myself Tim's Vinyl Confessions for nothing. I love Kansas. I think that they're one of those bands that they should be right up there with the Zeppelins and the Queens, and they're kind of the second tier. But I don't know, just a huge fan. And that is the only studio album of theirs that, to my knowledge, has never been on vinyl before. So unless they did do an album in '98 called Always Never the Same with an orchestra, which was, I guess you could call it a studio album. I guess that'll come next. So yeah, I'm all about shopping local, and trying to keep the dollars in Canada. But the fact of the matter is that when I was buying tapes, there were just things that you just didn't see. Now, maybe if I'd been in a bigger center, I could have found imports for some of these albums. But Y&T is a good example, but they're not the only one. And the destination that I always used to go to was a city called Bangor in Maine, which is about, I don't know, 3 hours or so away.
I think we've heard of that from maybe a few Stephen King books.
Absolutely. That's Stephen King's birthplace. Yes.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember, man, for about 3 years straight, 88, 89, 90, even 91, 92. No, yeah. Actually about 6 years straight. It was a given in the summertime. There would be some sort of pilgrimage made to Bangor, and whatever it is I happen to be looking for at that particular time, I would find not only that, but I'd find things I'd never even heard of.
Yeah.
One really fun example, again, I'm saving for a couple weeks. But just things that, so like I said, I got into Y&T summer 1990 and was missing whatever. I didn't even know what all of their albums were. And I remember I went to Bangor that summer and I found Black Tiger, Mean Streak, and Contagious. Get those zap, 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 just like that. Night Ranger Dawn Patrol was the only Night Ranger I didn't have. I couldn't find that anywhere in Canada. I found that one. I was really into Steve Vai's Passion and Warfare. That had just come out, and I found the cassette of Flexible, so I snatched that up. And it's one of those things where you think you're really, I got something nobody else has, right? Another thing that was very cool was that summer, to be honest with you, this is going to sound funny, but again, it's pre-internet. I was into Aerosmith, but I had no idea that Joe Perry did anything between Night in the Ruts and Done with Mirrors. I had absolutely no idea. And on that trip, found Once a Rocker, Always a Rocker, and Let the Music Do the Talking. So, Best of Vandenberg, I remember finding on that trip. And yeah, just it would always be something cool, like just cool stuff that you never saw. But yeah, the one in particular I'm going to talk about in a couple weeks' time was just mind blowing. Example of a band who I thought I'd had all their albums.
Here's a funny story for you. Back in '88, there was a really, really popular band called Whitesnake.
Rings a
And
bell. Rings a bell.
that album became quite huge, and all of the Geffen back catalog were suddenly reissued in
Mm-hmm.
mainstream stores on cassette. My buddy Bob and I, we were out one afternoon. We rode our bikes down to a store called Dutch Boy, and they were sort of like a grocery store / department store. They had a little bit of everything. We went to their music
Yep.
department, and we see all these cassettes by this Whitesnake. And at that time, Bob and I, we both thought Whitesnake had 2 albums. We thought it was Slided In 1987, and that was it. So he grabs a copy of Live in the Heart of the City, I think it was called.
Yes.
And he goes, "Who is this?" And I said, "Well, it's Whitesnake." And he points to Mickey Moody wearing this cowboy hat. And he goes, "Yeah, but you ever seen that guy before?" I said, "Honestly, no, I don't know who that guy is, but the logo is the same as the Snake, the Slide It In album. So it has to be the same band. It has to be." So we just sat there and we said, "Oh my God, this is another band that has a whole history that we were not aware of." And we kept discovering this. There was another band called White Lion. Well, it turns out that Pride wasn't their first album. There was a previous one called Fight to Survive. And we kept discovering this with every band we liked. We thought we had their first album. Then it turns out they had other stuff way before.
Whitesnake is a good example.
Discovery.
Yeah, Whitesnake is a good example, Mike. So I'll tell you my Whitesnake story there, and I shared this when I went on Peter Kerr's channel, Rock Daydream Nation, and counted down our top 5 favorite Whitesnake songs. So, 1987, of course, like you said, that was Whitesnake's year.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh wait, I just realized I didn't even see this comment that Aerosmith live album is being released on CD in April.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Oh my God!
And it's also getting a wider vinyl release.
Well, I've got the initial vinyl release. I'm glad to be able to buy it on CD though. Thank you, Thunderstruck.
Yes, thanks, Chaz. You're spending our money for us this morning, but that's good. That's good. So with Whitesnake, literally. All right, got to run, guys. My son has hockey later. Dan, thanks for popping on.
Ciao.
So Whitesnake, I literally knew Still the Night and Here I Go Again. That's it. At that point. And you remember the Much Music spotlights. Okay. They announced that they were having a Whitesnake spotlight. So I'm like, and it's one thing I knew about spotlights is you had to have at least 3 videos to have a spotlight. They wouldn't play a 2-video spotlight, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna record this. First video is the original Fool for Your Lovin', which to this day is one of my favorite Whitesnake songs ever. So just love it. And you can tell it's a completely different band except for Coverdale, right? Didn't care. I'm like, oh, what is this? This is so good. Then Slow and Easy and Love Ain't No Stranger. Love Ain't No Stranger is my favorite Whitesnake song. To me, it just doesn't get any better than that. Then played Still the Night and Here I Go Again. So the first thing I got from Whitesnake was, of course, the self-titled or the 1987 album. But the very next thing I bought was Live in the Heart of the City. So I bought that in 88. Got most of these in 88. So, and the reason I bought Live in the Heart of the City, Mike, I bought it at my local Sam's in Woodstock. I wanted Fool for Your Lovin'. And I saw all of those reissued albums, but I could not find one that had Fool for Your Lovin' on it. I didn't know what any of them were called. I had no idea.
Ready Willing album was the rarest of them all.
Yeah, and there's a follow-up here too. And it's a good Canadian story too. It's a good Canadian story. And I wish I'd kept it. But anyway, so I got to Live in the Heart of the City. I didn't know Come On, Love, Sweet Talker, Love Hunter, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City. I didn't know any of those songs, but I saw first song, I think on side 2 or second song, Fool for Your Lovin'. That's it. Got to get it. Got to get it. That was my introduction to the early Whitesnake. And I remember it just so happened that right at the beginning of that summer, I found this magazine. I think Rock Scene put it out. You remember Rock Scene magazine?
Yes.
They put out a Whitesnake issue. And that gave me a lot of basic information. And at the very end of the magazine, it showed all of the Whitesnake album covers. So now I knew I was really looking for an album called Ready and Willing. And Geffen didn't reissue it, which is
Okay.
really
Okay.
strange. I've said that for years, and I've challenged anyone. You find me a version of Ready and Willing on Geffen Records, and I will stand corrected. And I mean a cassette, vinyl, CD issue from 1988. They
Yeah.
didn't reissue it.
That
And I
explains
think
it.
the reason for that is that John Kolodner wanted Coverdale to redo Fool for Your Lovin'.
Right. That was the plan. That was always the plan.
Yeah. So fast forward to September of 1989. At this point, I had all of the other Whitesnake albums, and Ready and Willing was just sticking out like a sore thumb in its absence. Well, we had an A&A's in Woodstock at this point, and they had this glorious dump bin right as soon as you go in. And I would dive into that and swim around in those old cassettes for, long, long time. That's how I found the first two Vandenberg albums, which
Wow.
obviously is a Whitesnake connection there. But this one particular time, I found Ready and Willing. And I don't have the cassette anymore. I'll show you another cassette that it looked like. Hang on.
Okay.
And I had no idea what labels Whitesnake were on or any of that stuff. But I found an old Ready and Willing that looks like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, with the cover
The
up
really
top and then
old. So it's an old Canadian. That's what my Ready and Willing looked like. And I was just over the moon. Just over the moon. Finally had the studio version of it. And the funny thing is because of that, it looked totally different than the rest of my collection. So that's Gary Peak. Hello, Gary. Gary is one of the 2 Australians that ordered Unspooled.
wow.
He says, watching from Sydney, you should have been down here in the 80s. It was horrendous trying to get stuff. There's one import metal store in Sydney, which is still going strong. It wasn't the store's fault. It was just terribly expensive to get stuff down here. I can remember in 1985 paying $130 for a VHS of Kiss Animalized Live. Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, I think I've lost you, Tim. I think I've lost you. We're frozen. Hello. Is it Tim or is it me? I'm not sure.
I just gotta. I don't know where we went, but are we back? We're back.
We're back. We're back. I wonder if this was back when Animalized Live was only available for rental. Because, remember, there were 2 tiers of pricing for VHS back then. There was the general sale stuff, and then there was the stuff that was for rental only, and it was always over $100.
I do know. Oh, you know what, guys? No, okay, should be okay. Sorry, it's a long story. Just organizational stuff. So here's what I know about home videos. When they first started putting out home videos in the early 80s, they were ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone ever thought of actually buying them. It would be like buying movies. You don't buy a movie, you rent one.
Right.
But I know that there were early ones that came out, like Rush Exit Stage Left, that April Wine Live in London. That was, until they reissued that on DVD, that was I'd never even seen it.
There was a Live Rainbow with Joe Lynn Turner.
That's right. Yeah, was it Live Between the Eyes, I think?
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
Yeah. think Iron Maiden had one, Mike. Didn't they have Live at the Rain? They had a Live at the Rainbow.
They did. They had that one. They had God, there was a sort of like a video EP that came around the time of Peace of Mind. And then, of course, Live After Death, when that was finally released on VHS.
Sorry, guys, just a second here.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, Chaz got to go. Thank you, Chaz.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Thanks for buying the book. Sorry, what were we talking about? Yeah, home videos. First home video I ever bought, and the whole concept of it was just the strangest thing, was Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet, the videos.
Right.
It may have been the first one I'd ever heard of, honestly. I think it was like 1999, and the idea of they had the video for Never Say Goodbye and Wild in the Streets, which were never on.
You triggered a memory. Anymore. You triggered a memory. The very first one I ever saw, Twisted Sister "Stay Hungry" videotape sitting there in the rental store. I asked my dad if we could rent it, and he said, "No way am I renting the video with the guy with the big ham bone on the cover." But I remember that one being available for rent. I don't remember what was on it. I remember a David Lee Roth video for rent.
Yeah, I never had it. I think it was just called David Lee Roth, and it probably just had. I
think it was Gigolo and stuff like that.
California probably just had the Crazy from the Heat, Eat 'Em and Smile videos on it. I don't even think it was Skyscraper. I think the second one. Oh well, the second home video I bought was definitely Historia.
That was my first.
Absolutely, and that was one of the best value for money ones, because. You know, what was it, over an hour long?
Yeah.
Well, and it would have been worth it if it just had nothing but the videos on it. But I loved the interstitials.
Those were cute.
1920s piano music. And the information. The information. Like, I don't even know if it would have occurred to me on the Hello America clip that Rick's drums were out front.
Right.
But now they mentioned it, it's like, that is strange. What's up with that?
It also had
or that Tesla were in the crowd in the "Okay, Pour Some Sugar on Me" video.
Right. Then you pause and you're looking for them.
Yes.
But we didn't have that video here. You know, you had to buy the VHS.
Yeah.
And then it had also unlisted bonus track at the end. If you remember, Love Bites was an unlisted bonus track. It was a brand new video. It was their latest video.
Yeah. That goes back to the whole how that album just took off. And they probably already had this home video planned, but then at the last minute,
they kept making videos.
Yeah. And they kept making videos after that, because there's another, the Armageddon video on there is slightly different. Then, of course, it was Rocket. And those ended up on the video, or the Visualize.
Yeah.
Another
VHS that was instrumental in my high school life was a video that gets trashed quite frequently, but I think it's quite good. A little video called "Exposed" by Kiss.
Oh, I got into Kiss. Exposed was really the first time that I think a lot of Kiss fans got to see a lot of that early footage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the comedic stuff, although it's quite sexist and immature, I was immature at the time, so it was funny to me.
Oh, listen, there's no question. They knew their audience.
They knew their audience. Yeah. I mean, literally, I'm like watching this video, and then, is Mom in the room? No?
Yeah.
Pause. Whoa, look at those girls. You know?
Yeah. We still, like Matt and I still will quote from that, is this the documentary? Edit her out.
Edit her out. Edit her
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
You know, and there's some good stuff in there
And you
though.
know
Like
what?
when Paul and Gene are doing that the a cappella together.
The
And it's like it
Beatles. Yeah,
brings you right back to what they were doing in New York City in 1972.
yeah. And believe it or not, I actually once tried the Paul Stanley breakfast, the root beer and
And trail mix.
listen, first bite tasted kind of cool, very sweet. After that, just went soggy right away. But
That was so funny. And then there was the Paul
yeah.
Stanley workout tape.
For dirty minds and clean bodies.
Right.
Uh, yeah. See, Gary, I can't remember what US Canada cover price would have been for magazines for Circus Rock Scene. We were paying better part of $20. Probably about $5, I
Yeah,
think,
4 5.
Gary.
4
Yeah,
5.
like 4.95, something like that, or if it was a deluxe issue. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, I used to just pick them up at the convenience store with a candy bar and a bottle of pop.
That was good times. You had some reading material sorted. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Found out about new stuff that was coming out.
A lot of the time, my buddy Bob and I would just look at the pictures of the guitars. We were obsessed with guitars. The cooler ones, the better. Steve Vai had some really wild ones. And we also loved C.C. DeVille's. He had a transparent, like a plexiglass guitar. We loved that.
Yeah. Do you remember the
love looking at
trend?
pictures.
Do you remember the trend around like 89, 90 when these guys would all have guitars with their album art on them?
Yeah. Walking the Razor's, not Walking the Razor's Edge. Wild in the Streets, Helix.
Yep.
I've touched
Yeah, that
that
was
guitar.
awesome.
Yeah.
The Doctor.
The Doctor, he's a buddy of mine. He lives
Cool.
down the street.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that. I mean, Derry from Honeymoon Suite had the Tire Tracks
Yeah.
guitar from Racing After Midnight.
But
he
you know
still
what the
plays
best
that
one
guitar.
was?
Actually,
The best one. George Lynch's skeleton guitar that he had in the Dream Warriors
yeah,
video.
yeah. But you know something? It's funny. When I look at that now, I go, I bet that would be hard to play because your
Yes, it would be.
arm would
Yeah.
be hitting against all the bumpy parts. But
Yeah.
I remember John Bon Jovi had one that had the Bon Jovi New Jersey, like, I don't know what you call it,
Yeah.
crest on it.
Yes.
Red Beach had one with the first Winger artwork on it. I think Phil Collen had the one with the Hysteria artwork on it, along with his famous Dracula guitar.
Which was the white guitar that he had with a picture of a person's face on it and the eyes were embedded in the pickups? Remember that one? It had a white guitar with a person's face on it and the eyes were in the pickups. Phil Collen.
Phil?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Dracula guitar?
Was it Dracula? It could have been. I just remember it
I
being
think
a
it's
man's
Dracula.
face.
I think you can see it. I think the first time I ever saw it was in the Animal video.
Okay, that's probably it then.
Yeah, I think.
You know what I hated
anybody else?
I hated the trend of the mid 80s trend, and Eddie Van Halen, unfortunately, was one of them, where these guys started playing these little tiny guitars with no headstock.
The Steinbergers, yeah.
Yes, those.
I always called those like toasters with fretboards.
They didn't look right.
Yeah, Geddy Lee played Steinberger bass.
Yeah.
Just the funniest looking instruments. And of course, Eddie had his trademark stripes on it. Now, what he used that for, there was something called trans trem in that, so that when he pulled on the whammy bar, it pulled every string up and down, and I guess it would never stay in tune. If you listen to the beginning of like Get Up or even Summer Nights on 5150, that was the peak of him using that. But you want to know the funniest location for a Steinberger bass that is so out of place? Google or YouTube the videos from AC/DC's Flick of the Switch. They're just in the studio playing. So this Flick of the Switch, Rising Power, and I think Nervous Shakedown, and Cliff Williams has one of those. And in AC/DC,
that looks weird.
It's the funniest looking thing. Yeah, Gary pointed out Paul Stanley had one on the Crazy Night tour. They have those.
Yeah.
Nothing, and he played it on his solo tour too in '89.
Yes, he did.
Nothing dates that those really haven't aged well.
You know what aged worse though? What aged worse though was when Paul Stanley transitioned from the Crazy Nights period to the Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits period, and he was no longer playing a guitar at all in the videos. I was like, this is a dissension down from rock into pop, and it was visual. You know, you could see it happening.
In his book, that was a definite message to Gene.
Yeah, I'm the front
saying,
man.
Front man, this is my
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't
No,
look
it
right.
looked wrong.
I always
He's
thought it
just-
was cool too when the lead singers that didn't always play a guitar put on a guitar.
like Vince Neil and Joe Elliott.
Yeah, or John Bon Jovi. Like, it just made the band look more powerful.
Yep. Janie Lane.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Joe Elliott when they do Hysteria Live. Now didn't he have it? He had a Steinberger too, didn't he?
I believe it was a Steinberger.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. They must have gotten good deals on them. I'm sure they sounded fine, but there is so much of it is the visual component. It's that they just looked weird, right?
They look like they're made of plastic.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't look real. They look like toys or something. But, well, Mike, I think I've got to wrap things up and
Yeah, fair
get
enough.
some more coffee. But good to know that this worked.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody that's followed along this morning. Thanks, Ches, for telling me about that Kansas record. That is awesome. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. When I have more definitive unspooled news, you will get it. You will be the first to know. And thanks everybody for watching our little broadcast this morning. Mike, we will
Cheers,
see
Tim.
you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye, everybody.